U.S. President Barack Obama says airstrikes against Islamic State militants in Syria are likely to continue for some time because, in his words, quote, there is a cancer that has grown for too long. But would it have made a difference if Mr. Obama had acted sooner in Syria, arming more moderate opponents of both the Islamic State and the Syrian government? VOA's Scott Stearns has more.
Syrian rebels have long called for more help to fight both government forces and more extremist militia, including the Islamic State, which is also known as ISIS and ISIL. Jordanian King Abdullah told CBS television that the international community could have prevented the rise of the Islamic State militant group had it moved sooner to identify extremists in Syria. He told the UN General Assembly that action now underway must not let up.
The terrorists and criminals targeting Syria, Iraq, and other countries today are extreme reflections of a great global threat. Our international community needs a collective strategy to contain and defeat these groups.
So might it have been easier to defeat Islamic State militants with an earlier collective strategy? U.S. officials say they delayed getting involved in part because of concerns about where U.S. weapons might end up. U.S. Institute of Peace analyst Steve Heidemann questions President Obama's misgivings about moderate rebels' preparedness for the fight.
I think his characterization of the armed opposition as farmers and merchants and pharmacists is profoundly misguided. The vast majority of Syria's armed opposition has a military background.
Heidemann says helping stand up that rebel army could have changed things on the ground.
I think we could have made a difference in blunting the rise of ISIS and in checking the military advances of the Assad regime. I think we could have contributed to creating an environment more conducive to a negotiated settlement in Syria if we had been prepared to move earlier, to provide weapons to the moderate elements of the armed opposition.
Earlier U.S. action may have helped change the military balance, says Center for a New American Security analyst Nora Ben-Sahel.
Yes, we might have been able to do something to prevent ISIS from emerging, but we don't know what other problems, what other issues would have come up.
She says U.S. policy could have gotten bogged down in military action.
That would have put us at a period earlier of, again, intervening on the side of one or more of the parties in the Syrian civil war, which could have had huge regional strategic complications, the types we're assessing right now.
Sunni Arab allies who've joined the airstrikes in Syria and Iraq are, for the moment, also backing the Shia-led government in Baghdad. Keeping U.S. ground troops out of this fight will depend on a stronger Iraqi army and tougher Syrian rebels, who President Obama now has legislative authority to train and arm. Scott Stearns, VOA News at the United Nations.